You need to start eating as if you were raised on a farm if you want to build an extremely attractive physique. If you want the type of body that looks good, that turns heads, then stop overcomplicating your diet. Start eating very simply, and you're going to realize that doing less is actually doing more when it comes to building a very good physique. I used to fill my body with so much junk food, eating mindlessly, not tracking anything, so it was no wonder that I had acne, that I had love handles, that I had a terrible physique. But when I started to eat in the way that I'm going to show you in this video, I completely turned things around and started to build an amazing body. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to eat and what I eat daily to build an extremely attractive physique. So I'll run through what I eat in a day personally, and then I'll walk you through the system behind it so that you can do it for yourself. Now, my first meal will be a few hours after I wake up, around 12:30 or so. Before then, there's 0 calories. Only black coffee, green tea and water with nothing added. So just 0 calories completely until that first meal. There's no snacking in between meals either. If you want a good physique, then you have to learn to control yourself, to be honest. At most, a piece of fruit like an apple, if you're desperate, right? Now, first meal, this is, like I said, 12:30, and this is usually my pre-gym meal, my pre-workout meal. This is what I'll have before the gym, around 60 minutes before I go. So this is a piece of fish, half a melon, and a bit of raw honey. The fish is air fried on its own, no butter, no oil, because before the gym you don't want too much fat. And the melon will just be sliced. It's like a honeydew melon, maybe some watermelon, cantaloupe, something like that. And honey will be about 30 grams, so a tablespoon or so, or 2 tablespoons of raw honey. In total, it's about 350 calories, 20 grams protein, 60 grams carbs, something like that. You obviously don't want a heavy meal before the gym for obvious reasons. Now, after the gym, say around 3, half 3, something like that, I'll have my second meal. Now, this is more of a meal. It's a bit larger, probably around 700-800 calories, something around there. And this is going to be eggs, potatoes, fruit, and perhaps some white fish again. I'll have my eggs either sunny side up or scrambled in like a tablespoon of butter. I might throw in some peppers, some onions. Those are usually the vegetables I like with those. With the potatoes, I'll air fry them in like 10 ml of olive oil, so that's less than a tablespoon. You have to be mindful of like stuff like olive oil especially, because otherwise you'll add 300 extra calories to your meal without noticing. For the fruit, it will be the other half of the melon. So I had half before the gym and I'll have the other half after. And then I'll top off that meal with like another piece of fish, like I said. In total, it's about 40 grams protein. If I have 4 eggs or so, and then I'll have a frozen fish fillet, that's about 40 grams and 700 calories, something like that in total. This meal is basically just to hold me off until dinner. Dinner is when I have like a big feast, you could say. That's when I have the most amount of food, the most protein, the most calories. Because when I used to overeat, it would always be in the night. That's what I'd notice. I would never have 2,000 calories in the morning. Like that's insane. But to do it at night, that would be very normal for me. So what I realized that I had to do is hold off my calories, just taper them more towards the end of the day, and that makes it a lot easier to stick to your total calorie limit basically. Now, my final meal is at 7 p.m. and I go to sleep at 11, by the way, so there's a bit of a gap between the final meal and the time I go to bed, because if you are still digesting food as you're trying to sleep, not only is it going to take you longer to go to sleep, but your sleep quality is going to be a lot worse. So make sure there's at least a few hours between your final bite of food basically and the time that you go to sleep. A lot of people eat until the moment they get into bed, like they literally crawl into bed with a snack. And if you're trying to take your sleep serious and build a good physique, that's not acceptable. And even if you don't notice it, with the time it takes you to get to sleep, so your sleep latency, if you ever track your sleep with a sleep tracking device, you're going to see how detrimental that is. So make sure that there's a bit of a time gap between your final meal and the time you go into bed. Now back to the food anyways. This final meal is my favorite meal of the day, obviously, because it's the most food and I love food. So this is going to be beef, like always beef, usually ground beef, maybe sometimes slow cooked beef, but ground beef is just the easiest. It cooks in like 5 minutes, so I usually have that like every day. And then I'll have that with sweet potatoes. These are usually air fried as well. As you can tell, I use my air fryer a lot. Like, it's actually so handy. If you don't have one, you need one. If I didn't have it, like back in the day when I didn't have an air fryer, I would usually just steam the sweet potatoes, which is fine as well. But there's just something about that crispiness that just gets you. So if you're trying to enjoy your food like to the max, then definitely get an air fryer. I'll also have some more fruit with this meal, like kiwis and berries. Those are conducive to good sleep as well. And all of my meals meals, right, I'll season them with like salt and pepper. That's just a baseline standard. And usually with the big meal or with the 2 later meals, I'll also add some type of sauces, some type of other seasonings, like perhaps some barbecue sauce, some tomato puree, honestly whatever I want, but I just make sure to track the calories as well, because if not, those calories will add up quickly. If I ate the amount of barbecue sauce that I wanted with the big meal especially, I could easily add like 250 extra calories just in sauce alone. So you need to be mindful of that. Similar to the olive oil, it's always the liquid calories. Obviously sauce and oil is not exactly a liquid that you drink, but it's still liquid in terms of the consistency. So make sure you're tracking them very diligently. Now this final meal is about 1500 calories. Like I said, that's my favorite meal. It has to be massive, right? Like I said, the first meal will be 300, the first snack before the gym 300, the second meal after the gym 700, and then the final meal 1500. In total, about 2500 calories for the day. That's what I'm eating currently in a deficit. My maintenance is about 3000 calories because I'm very active, lots of steps, lots of sport, lots of, well, few workouts a week, and that leads to that maintenance, especially with my body composition. So that's probably not the same for you. You've not got the same body composition as me. You don't do the same amount of activity as me. Perhaps you do, and that's great. Follow the plan exactly like I've told you. But if not, then the calories have to be managed for your specific situation. Even if I'm going through a period of less activity, I'll still eat like all these same foods. I'll just eat less of them. So for example, with the final meal at night, instead of having a pound of ground beef and a pound of potatoes like I'm doing now, I'll just have half a pound of potatoes and less ground beef. You know, you can eat the same foods, with whatever amount of calories you have to eat, but you just manage them for the amounts that you need. Now every day I eat these same foods with minor variations, like maybe I'll change the seasoning or the sauce, or I'll swap the kiwis for like apples or something like that. Like very minor variations, right? It's basically the same. It's meat, it's fish, it's eggs, and it's fruit, and it's some vegetables. That's basically the only thing that I'm eating every single day. And this makes it very easy to stick to calories, to stick to a solid structure for eating, like in terms of the meal times, and to stick to the whole unprocessed foods. As you've noticed, there's no bullshit in that diet. There's no ingredients list, packaging. There's no donuts or Oreos or anything that I don't want in my body, because that makes it a lot harder to stick to the calories, and it gives you negative side effects like poorer sleep, like bad skin, like just increased body fat, because it's a lot easier to eat Oreos than fruit, for example. It's a lot easier to eat donuts than it is to eat kiwis. So you can control yourself after 3 kiwis, but you can't even control yourself even if you've eaten 3 donuts. Now, all of the foods in my diet are there for specific reasons, and I'll go through them now. So the staple protein for me is red meat, beef specifically. That's what's very available to me in the UK. I have beef, like a pound of ground beef every night, and I've done that for a long time, to be honest. For years, I've had like a pound of ground beef every day. It's so nutrient dense, it's unbelievable. And not just the common ones that people think, you know, zinc and iron, and that's all good. But then there's potassium, magnesium. If you're having enough ground beef, you're getting adequate amounts of these electrolytes as well. Creatine, I don't supplement creatine, so I get all my creatine from ground beef, probably about 2.5 grams per day, which is quite substantial, to be fair, just from whole foods alone, right? Supports testosterone, supports recovery. Ground beef, honestly, I could not replace this for anything else. That's my favorite type of protein, and that's what I'll be having for forever, to be honest with you. In terms of batch preparing it as well, it's very easy. I usually cook it fresh every day, but you can batch prepare like 5 pounds, 7 pounds of ground beef pretty easily, and it'll taste good when it's reheated. Whereas if you did that with like chicken breast, it's going to be dry as fuck. Other protein sources are fine as well. Fish, chicken, turkey, I eat all of these. As long as it's a real animal and it wasn't made in a factory or something, then that's fine by me. The next staple is whole eggs. These are extremely nutrient dense, even more than the red meat. And I'm having 4 a day at the moment. I used to have 8 or 10. Like, I felt great doing that. I just have the calories right now. Don't be eating the egg whites alone for the protein. I can't believe that people do that. That's insane to me. There's so much goodness, so much nutrients in that yolk. That's the main part. If you're only gonna have one part of the egg, have the yolk, not the whites. There's much better ways to get your protein, believe me. For your protein, you eat beef, or you eat chicken, or you eat fish, but don't be removing literally one of the most nutrient dense foods in the world just for some extra protein. It's not that deep. To make your food satiating, so you feel full when you're eating, you have to add low calorie vegetables. Well, you don't have to, you can just be hungry if you want, but that is very helpful. So peppers, zucchini, boiled carrots, stuff like this. Those are usually the vegetables that I add to foods, like to my ground beef or to my eggs. These are the vegetables that I add to make it a lot more satiating, to make the food feel a lot more satisfying, basically. Because the worst feeling is when you finish your meal and you don't have calories left and you just want to eat more. You've got to prevent that from happening, because if it does, then your instincts take over. You just start shoveling food down your throat, and before you know it, you're 1200 extra calories deep and you don't even know where all the food went. So basically, make sure your foods are as satiating as possible. Your meals fill you up, and then that won't happen. Now, in terms of carbohydrates, the main carbohydrates that I'd recommend are potatoes. These are the most filling. These are like basically the cleanest source of carbs, to be honest. Rice is fine as well, white rice, but if you want to be full, then potatoes are going to be your best friend. The only sweet type of carb that you should be eating is fruit, and these are natural sweets anyways. Depending on the fruit, they can be more satiating than potatoes. A bit of honey before the gym is fine, that's what I do as well, but definitely don't overdo that. It's just sugar, basically. It's very easy to overeat. Fresh fruits are going to be the best, so apples, oranges, berries, kiwis, bananas, melons, anything like that, whatever your favorite is, right? Those are going to be the most satiating, and they're going to be most sustainable as well. When you start getting into the dried fruits, those tend to get a bit more dangerous, because, you know, like trail mix as well, something like that, nuts and dried fruit. These are still whole foods, but they're very calorie dense. Like a handful can be 300 calories. That's extremely dangerous. Essentially, you need to choose a set of foods and a set of meals that you can stick to every day for the foreseeable future. Like if it's not broken, then you don't fix it. You know, if you've got a set of meals that you like, that are good, that are gonna take you to the goals, which is an attractive physique, clean foods, hit your calories, then literally just repeat that until you get bored, which should take a long time, like months, literally. After a while, it gets to the point where you don't want to eat anything else. You get annoyed if you can't eat your regular food. So imagine that, you've basically conditioned yourself to only desire healthy food. You can see that once you reach that stage, it's inevitable that you build an amazing physique. Like I said right at the start, make your diet as if you lived on a farm. Meat, fish, fruit, eggs, vegetables. If it's not on that list, get it out of your kitchen. If it's not on that list, it's not in your shopping basket, you know? Walk around the supermarket and see where the foods are that are on that list. It's going to be around the edge. It's going to be the produce section around the edge. It's going to be the meat around the edge. It's not going to be in the middle with the Oreos and the donuts, and like, it's not going to be there, believe me. So make sure you're doing what you need to do. Honestly, just eat like this for a year. You're going to be shocked at the difference that it makes. It'll be unbelievable. And then if you can combine this with tracking your calories and macros, like, you're not doing one or the other, right? Some people do just, you know, they just try to eat whole foods and they have no idea what's going on with their calories and macros. That's not going to get you the result that you want. And then some people do the other way around. They just track calories and macros, but they're still eating shit food. You know, some random protein drink with 15 ingredients, or some donuts and Oreos in here. No, do both, get the best of both worlds, and it will be impossible for you not to build a good physique. Now, if you want more help to build an attractive physique, then check the top link in the description for one-to-one coaching. If you want a step-by-step program that you can follow yourself, then check the second link for my step-by-step system. Thanks for watching. Link in the description if you want to look sexy.